Well, hello and welcome back. This is Amanda with Molly Cole Creations. It is almost summer and we are coming up on May, Memorial Day, and patriotic videos and projects are among us. Today is a special day. I have been given the opportunity to join a playlist with these lovely ladies. Hosting this month's playlist is a Crafty Hints, along with her two co-hosts, Rustic and Lace DIY, and 6 kids and a glue gun. We are getting started here with our first DIY for our patriotic season. We are using a 1x4x8. We are going to make a patriotic pinwheel. Some people call them a barn star. They are very similar. We cut 8 pieces. You need 8. And you have to turn your miter saw to a 45-degree angle. That is pretty important. And we cut ours in 3.5 width increments. You could do yours however you want, depending on how big or how large you want your pinwheel to be. So we cut 8 at the 45-degree angle at 3.5 inches wide. And we are going to get those painted up together. So you kind of match long side to long side to, and then short side. So you're making a pattern essentially, and you're just matching up those sides. When you're using the saw, you just move on and on. You don't have to turn the wood. You don't have to flip anything around. You're essentially just cutting identical piece by identical piece. Now, my wood isn't perfect. As I said, it is scrap wood, so it's just been kind of sitting out in our yard, getting wet, drying, getting wet, drying. But that is what it will look like in the end, and we will use a staple gun and kind of a back piece to keep all of that together. When I paint it, as I said, I'm going to do 4 white, 2 in navy blue, and 2 in red. And I do paint the fronts, the sides, and the backs. A little bit more of a finished look. However, one side will have staples all over it. You could use a nail gun. Also, you could use wood glue. My preferred method is the staple gun. It seems to keep them together tighter and doesn't look warped by any means. So, here we are. I am using my Rust-Oleum in linen white. Is the white paint that I typically always use. It is chalk paint. Gives a pretty good coverage. So as I was explaining before, I do 4 in this white chalk paint. And I am painting the back, the sides, the front, all the things. You never know which side you're going to end up using as far as placement goes. So I then move on and do the other 2 colors. Do the same thing with them. This is called Imperial. It is by Full Cart. It is also a chalk paint. And I do the same thing with these 2, front, back, sides, all the things. And in this entire video, I only use 3 paints plus a Waverly Antique Wax paint. And I will list all of those in the description box for you. And they are just regular Full Cart paint, Rust-Oleum. This one is Deco Art in the color navy blue. I had to actually go buy this one. I didn't have any proper navy blue. It is not a color I use very often. So this has actually been a really fun. Well, all of these projects have been really fun because I have used some colors that I don't typically use and kind of went above and beyond my normal, wheelhouse. this, and I did sand all of these. You know, I went and roughed them up. But I did not do that inside because it just makes a big mess, especially with the blue and the red. So I first start by stapling 2 pieces together at a time. I line them all up and I decide which 2 are going to go together, and there's kind of a pattern because you're doing every other one with white, right? So it's pretty simple. And I put a few staples in each of the sets of 2. And once I get done with the sets of 2, then I put those sets of 2 together to then complete the pinwheel. And then I just hook the staple into the centers of those sets of 2, essentially. My head keeps getting in the way because I'm standing up. This staple gun is not like, it looks easy on the camera, but if you've used a staple gun, you know I'm like using like a lot of muscles to do it. And then of course, here we are, I run out of staples. I needed like 3 more and my staples are gone. So I had to stop, refill the staples, and we're back. And then it always is a bit wobbly there in the center. So I grab a wood square to kind of make everything more secure. I don't want anything wobbling around. I don't want it for the staples to tear. You know, it could easily be. So that thing on the back, that square, just it makes everything more solid. And here it is. I think it turned out so cute. I absolutely love it. It's super patriotic, right? Come on. All right. Okay, for DIY number 2 in this video, for our early patriotic Memorial Day festivities, this is, like, you can see how old and crusty this is. This is scrap wood, sat out all winter. In fact, it is a 2x2, and it was 8 feet long originally. You can get this for under probably $3, and I'm only using, I thought I would give you my measurements anyway. You can do this however you like. So we cut one at 6.5, one at 5.5, and one at 4. So you could make multiple sets of this or save the rest of the wood for another project. I'm cutting some stencils on my Cricut that I will show you here in a bit, and I'm going to paint them all a little bit differently, but I'm going to start out by doing 2 in white and 1 in blue. And these are going to be little, you know, firecracker kind of looking things. All right, so here we go. We are painting that small one, like I said, in the navy blue Americana Deco Art color. It's actually a very deep, nice blue. I really like it. It was perfect for all the DIYs that I did in this patriotic video. And we do the other 2. We start out with those in white, giving them, these are very rough pieces of wood. As you can see, I'm just using a sponge brush. I don't use a whole lot of fancy brushes because I take terrible care of my brushes. They end up sitting in a cup or in my sink until I get around to rinsing them. But these sponge brushes, I can just throw away and have no guilt. And with these rough pieces of wood, they cover pretty well. So I just do a quick coat of that, and on one of the white ones, I get out some painter's tape and I am making some red stripes, you know, as where the theme is. We are going with a lot of stripes and a lot of stars. And this one is, and I'm terribly off frame, so there we go. I'm figuring it out. But anyhow, I use painter's tape to make those lines. Okay, so I cut, and you're not going to be able to see any of it yet. I cut a bunch of stuff out of, well, with my Cricut onto stencil vinyl. So I'm going to get that cut apart and finish up a few of our projects with stenciling, and we'll go from there. And you could definitely just do decals for all of these projects, or stickers, hand lettering, whatever floats your boat. You could definitely do. I just kind of went with the stencil route, and it may have been easier to just use vinyl and do decals, but anyhow, I didn't have the exact red or blue in vinyl that I wanted, and I didn't have a lot of time to shop, and I didn't want to go rush around and buy things. So on one of our little pillars that we painted white, I cut USA. And I think I saw this at Hobby Lobby. I actually went to Hobby Lobby to shop for this video for like patriotic supplies and things, and they had a ton of cute stuff, but nothing was on sale yet. Like nothing. Only their spring stuff still. They didn't even have wood on sale. Like they didn't have, I went on the wrong week or the wrong day. So I should have paid more attention to that, but nothing I got was on sale, which is why I didn't end up buying a whole lot. But anyhow, I paint the U and the A in the red and our little S in the blue. And this stencil vinyl is actually pretty awesome. One of the other ones that I cut was just a bunch of stars, and I end up using this one over and over throughout the video. I just save it and reuse it, and it holds up throughout each. I think I used it on 3 different wood pieces, and it does hold up each time. And I'm just using, I literally used 3 paintbrushes, 3 paints, and some stencil decals and some wood, or some stencil vinyl. And I do the stars on all the sides, just because I thought that would be cuter. So I stencil each side of this block with those white stars. And then the third one, like I said, we did the stripes. So putting my stars back on the backing sheet to save them for later. Alright, for our next DIY, we are continuing with our wood patriotic DIYs. For this video, we are going to make some really cute patriotic little wooden tags. These will be cute in tiered trays, or just in a vignette, or on your mantle. These, a 1.5 inch wide, kind of a 1 by 1.5. It's a furring strip, just from the hardware store. However, ours are old and crusty because they've been sitting outside. Anyhow, very inexpensive. If you were making multiples of these, you could do probably, they're 8 feet and these are 6 inches. So, you know, multiply or divide that in to 8 feet. I mean, you could probably make a lot of them for just a few dollars. So we're going to get these painted up using our same paint colors as we have been this entire video. Alright, so let's get started. We are painting one in white, one in the Imperial Red by Folk Art, and one in the Navy Blue, the Americana Deco Art. By the way, that is only 99 cents at Hobby Lobby, not on sale. And we do the fronts, the backs, the tops, the bottoms. This is another one of our little stencils that I am weeding out. And this one is more obviously for the 4th of July versus Memorial Day. But this tier tray will go along with both these vignettes, however I choose to display them. I do end up putting them all together in a tier tray, which looks super cute, and you will see that. So we just get that on that. See, I'm also reusing the same transfer tape over and over. Now I am placing all of these aligned to the right side of the block of wood. And that is because I'm going to put a hole in them with probably some twine and a bead or something. I also saw something similar to this at the Hobby Lobby, and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this video, so I was just kind of winging it as I went. And I always have wood on hand, so that is something that I can, you can always make something out of wood. If you don't have like power tools, I will link a miter box with like a handsaw that you can use. It does angles, it does straight cuts, and I use that in the winter a lot because I can't get outside. It snows here like all the time. So when I can't get outside, I do use that. And it does work. So if you don't have power tools, you can still make these projects. So don't let that stop you. And I did one that says the July 4th freedom, and then this last one I'm showing you that I'm just weeding out. So when you're weeding a stencil, you weed out the opposite way you would like a normal decal. And I guess that's common sense, but sometimes, I don't know, I get confused a little bit. So I just get that weeded out using our seam piece of transfer tape, trimming it down, and getting that on there. The other two, I used the white paint for the lettering, and on this one, I'm going to go ahead and use red. So once we have all of that done, we will let that dry. I will link the font, and in fact, I'll probably link the whole Cricut design or Cricut project. If you do have Design Space and you have Cricut access, then you can link to it and grab these designs if you want to use them. But otherwise, I will just link the fonts that I used. And I got a little bit of paint there that I didn't want, so I touched that up. And I think those turned out really cute. This is a chair, or came from a chair. They're spindles from an old chair. We actually picked up a bunch of chairs last year and cut them up. They were already worn and old and kind of falling apart. They were free on Marketplace, and so I cut this one in half, and I've used it. Well, I've used them I used them at Christmas, I used them in Easter, I made carrots with them. Today they are going to be fireworks. So I painted that top part in the red, and I'm painting the bottom in the blue. They're pretty easy to paint because they do have those overlips where the spindle meets and has those ridges, so it's kind of nice. So I'm doing white in the middle of both, And I do take these outside once they are dry and rough them up a bit with some sandpaper. Gotta do that. Gotta do it. I can't resist. This is the next project, and these two pieces are 4x4. 1x4x8 is how it is sold, and we cut them in 4-inch, I guess, blocks, pieces, so they're 4x4 essentially. I painted one in white and I painted one in the navy blue. This is another project where I use some stencils, and I do paint the front, the back, the sides, all the places. Tier trays, sometimes if they're up against a wall you can't see the back, but sometimes mine are on a table or a shelf where you can see it. So again, here I am using our star stencil that we cut with the Cricut, and just putting some more white stars. So I do this on one side of it, and then I thought, well, maybe I just want like a big star instead of these little ones, because I don't want to be repetitive. I don't want to do the same design over and over. Now this, I lost some footage. This is a little house, a wooden house. It is from Hobby Lobby, and it's something I have had for a while, and I already stained it. So I used some washi tape, and I painted the little roof blue, and used that same star stencil for the roof. And then I used some more washi tape, and the reason I was using washi tape instead of painter's tape is because it's a little bit thinner, and these are small projects. So the painter's tape that I had was a little bit wide. I wouldn't get as many stripes on it. That's the only reason for the washi tape. Anyhow, so I get all of those lined up, and I did keep the stain back of this because I did think that I liked that look, and I'm incorporating some twine in the end, so I thought that this would go really well together. And we are just getting those stripes of red painted on and pulling up the washi tape. And I kind of like hemmed and hawed with this little house. I knew I wanted to use it, I just wasn't sure how. So I kind of fiddled and faddled around with it a bit. And this was another little stencil that I cut on the Cricut, just as welcome. In fact, I didn't even make it, I don't know the font because it's just something that was in Cricut Design Space. I just typed in welcome, and it was one that popped up. So, easy peasy, there you go, squeezy. And I am just lining that up, kind of centering it. I'm not measuring, as I do, and making sure to keep those little ends of the letters down and not to lose any of those for the stencil. A couple of them do want to come up on stain. This stencil vinyl doesn't work as well as it does on regular paint. So you just have to work just a tiny bit harder to keep it down, but it does work. And then I'm using that same navy paint, same paintbrush, and pouncing. And every time that I am stenciling on, I'm not using a lot of paint. I'm dabbing most of it off, or using kind of a dry brush, because we don't like bleeds. And I didn't get any, so I was pretty happy with that. Bleeds are just pain in the butt. So there is that one. We are kind of moving on to finishing touches, y'all. We are in the home stretch. I've got my drill out, and I got kind of a small drill thingy. What do you call it? Drill bit. for these spindles. And then I get a little bit of a larger drill bit for our tags. The spindles, those little firecracker things, are cupcake toppers from Hobby Lobby, and they're a bit fancy for me, but I thought they looked really cute. I don't usually go flashy, but I don't know. I thought it was fitting. So for our tags and these other ones, I did need a little bit of a bigger hole to get the twine and the beads through. So here I am, and I do just put a little bit of painter's tape on each end of the tape, because I'm essentially just feeding it through and tying a couple of knots, and then putting the bead on. So I need painter's tape on both sides because that twine frays a little bit. So we get that fed through, and then I tie 2 knots, 3 knots I think, and then put the bead on. And I didn't paint or stain the beads. I left them as the natural finish that they come in. These are the larger 20mm beads that I got from Amazon. I tie an additional knot on the top of the bead just to kind of keep it from, I don't know if it would move around or not, but that's what I did. And then there you have it. I do the same thing with all 3 of our tags, and these were seriously so simple and so easy to make that if you had a craft show or a booth or anything like that, you could put out a dozen of these for like $2 in some time. Just so simple. Our little house, it turned out so cute. I love it. It's very rustic, and I am avoiding using hot glue wherever I can. I did get my hot glue gun out thinking I was going to need it, but I don't think I used it on anything. I wrapped just a little bit of twine on this and tie a little bow. And I was crafting upstairs for this project because my kids are home and they're playing outside, so I can't be in my basement. I need to be present and paying attention. So if you hear any noise, it's just kids. We live here. This is a thicker rope, I guess, twine. And I just cut a few pieces and shoved. I thought I was going to need hot glue for this too, but I don't. I just shove some of that rope in, and I got this cute red and white, checkered ribbon, whatever you call it, and shove those in. I kind of unbraid the rope a little bit even, and I think those turned out so adorable. I love them. Y'all, these are so fun. Look how cute everything turned out. All with just scrap pieces of wood, and you definitely could add more elements to this. I just used what I had on hand, and I absolutely love all of it. How fun. These are so inexpensive, super patriotic, right? And I hope that they have inspired you to maybe come up with a little bit of patriotic inspiration for your next DIYs, whether they're for Memorial Day or the 4th of July. But these are just going to be a really fun addition to our little spread that we put out with the barbecue or having some family over, whatever it may be. But I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it did give you a little bit of inspiration. And they are all very simple. Like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel in some aspects. I mean, what works, works, and what looks good, looks good. I do want to thank these ladies once again for including me and giving me the opportunity to join in on this open playlist this month. And I hope to learn a lot from these ladies and get to know them. And y'all should check out their channels as well. You will certainly receive an enormous amount of inspiration between everyone and all of their talents. And if you do like their content, give them a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm excited to watch it myself. I haven't seen any of their videos yet either. So this is going to be a lot of fun and a good way to spend my Monday while I'm doing chores or cleaning or even crafting a little myself. Thanks so much for watching. You all are fantastic. Thanks for being my crafting friends. We'll see you next time.